Hey everybody, welcome back to Warrior Wednesday. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Today I'm super excited about this this episode that I'm putting out. I have a great co-host with me, Emmitt Henderson, who is doing really great things. He has lupus, he's a lupus warrior, and he is advocating, raising awareness, and telling his story. Also doing so much more, so I'll allow him to talk about that as well in a few minutes. But let me just start by introducing myself and a little bit more about why I wanted to speak with Emmitt today. So my name is Lex Goodwin. I am a health advocate, a speaker, and I am living with a rare autoimmune disease called myasthenia gravis. I was diagnosed at the age of 19 years old. And in 2020, I began telling my story and advocating not only for myasthenia gravis, but also chronic illnesses as well. So I'm using this platform to now highlight other warriors who are doing amazing things and who I find inspirational. And today we have Emmitt. So I will allow him to introduce himself and take it from there.
Good morning, Lexi. I really appreciate you having me on here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being a part of this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anything to put the word out that, chronic illnesses are real, and however we can address it and bring awareness, let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, and I just really want to make sure that we're highlighting that chronic illnesses doesn't have a specific look. We all look differently and we all have different stories. So I just wanted to share your story and highlight what you're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you again. My name is Emmitt Henderson III. I was diagnosed with systemic lupus back in 1995. So I've pretty much gone through a lot, everything from transplants to every organ failure, to clinical trials, to chemotherapy, to radiation therapy, joint replacements. Lupus had put me through a ringer. If you guys are familiar with lupus, lupus is an autoimmune disease where your body and your immune system kind of tend to overreact. And what it does by that is basically it can't determine the difference between foreign disease in your body versus your regular organs. So it attacks everything. And that's therefore the reason why, my organs were affected by it. Another big thing about lupus, though, is that only 10% of men are diagnosed with lupus in the lupus community. So it makes it rare for us to have it. And that way in 95, it was really complicated for the doctors to even figure out what was wrong with me. But like I said, I had symptoms going back to 1980 as a kid. And so it was crazy. It's a crazy journey.
So it's been a very long roller coaster journey for you. And absolutely. I feel like you're not alone in that. It's a roller coaster ride for all of us. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. There is not a lot of men with lupus, and there are not a lot of men with chronic illnesses who are advocating and sharing their stories. So that is why I wanted to make sure that I spoke with you and wanted to hear more about your story. So our topic today is masculinity and chronic illnesses. So let's just start with why and how you kind of started advocating. Like, what was that point for you that was like, okay, I need to start telling my story to help other people? What was that moment like for you?
Well, the moment was really surreal for me, only because of the fact that it took me up to 25 years to actually become an advocate after getting diagnosed. And the reason why, as a typical guy, it's like my career came first. Everything came first. My health was something that, as long as I could wake up the next morning, I can keep doing what I'm doing despite the hospital stage, despite everything that broke down with me with lupus. But again, being a man, it was just more of, I got this. I got to take care of my household. I got to take care of my job. I got to take care of my bills. So everything was there to where I did not want to show that I was sick at all. However, I went through physical transformation with this disease that people knew something was wrong, but it's still not something I talked about. So fast forward from 1995 to 2019, wow. I thought lupus had done everything to me that, what else can it do? In 2019, it affected my brain. I have a brain disease now that is still not diagnosed by the doctors, which causes me really bad migraines. And with the medication, and from that is when it ended my career in the service automotive management field. Because of that, I decided to keep myself busy, that the type of person that I am. And what I wanted to do, Lexi, I wanted to bring something that was not there for me in that whole 25 years of being sick. And that was finding other guys that I could relate to an illness that is 90% women. You know, guys, we don't even talk about when we are going through things, when we're feeling bad. You know, we talk about everything in the world except how we're feeling inside and what we're going through. And it wasn't that there for me at all. And there were times I needed to talk to somebody about, you know, hey, brother, how do you feel when you go through this and that? How do you navigate through life? How do you manage things that you do being a man? There wasn't nobody like that I can talk to, you know? And the ones that I felt that maybe I can talk to, because they're not walking in my shoes, it would have been hard for them to understand. So I decided to become and create my own organization. And my organization is called Male Lupus Warriors. And I wanted people to know that as a man with lupus, I am the one that's advocating for my own personal experience, therefore creating the name with the word male in it.
So let's talk more about that, because I think that's super important. So the male experience with lupus differs from the female experience, right?
Well, there's a lot of similarities. It's just that statistics say that men have more severe with more organ failures.
Okay.
And I'm a good example of that. But when we all have lupus, we kind of go through the same thing. So therefore, I don't categorize anything, you know, above or below. If we have lupus or any chronic disease, we have a chronic disease. We still feel the same, hurt the same, but yet we can also still do our own self-care, mental health, and get better through the same way.
So what are some of the things that you have done with Male Lupus Warriors? Let's talk more about that.
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest things is that I connected with another male lupus warrior in the East Coast. And me and him, you know, because we go through the same things, it was easy to relate on the topics that we talked about. And it was one of those things where it's not anything like competition. He's advocating like I am. We put egos to the side. We put all that to the side because this brother's doing the same mission that I'm having. And so we created an organization on top of our existing organization. My man, Dion Langley from Virginia, we created an organization called the Lupus Dream Team, where now we got two brothers that's advocating for lupus and a predominantly women's disease. And we're doing everything from men only Zoom meetings, support groups is what we're doing. We kind of have engagements with the community. We put out all kind of personal messages to where people are contacting us, you know, for even just self-talks and things that, you know, to be that listening ear that is not there in most cases. Again, brothers, we don't tend to open up a lot, but knowing that we're going through a lot and somebody's willing to listen, we get the engagements through that.
So I think one thing that I noticed about how society views men is that men tend to carry things well. I mean, we all do, but men specifically. Like you said, men have a hard time opening up, expressing, being vulnerable, specifically as a Black man in the Black community. That's something that is like whoa, like, you know what I mean? That's something for us that we're not vulnerable. We don't open up. You know, we have this motto, what happens in this house stays in this house. You know, we tend to sweep a lot of things under the rug. So I think that, to me, what you're doing was super inspirational. I think a lot of other men, not even just Black men, but men in general, that's something that they could benefit from. So let's talk more about that.
Absolutely.
The stigmas that men face that have been challenging within your journey.
One of the biggest things, first of all, as a Black man, Black of mixed culture, I'm mixed with Filipino and Black.
Okay, I apologize.
Oh, no, I am a Black man. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I'm just putting my ethnicity out there because with this autoimmune disease, with lupus, it is predominantly in the African-American population as well as Asian. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? So what it comes down to is me, myself, waking up as a Black man in this day and age, as tough as it is already. Now I'm waking up being a Black man with a chronic illness on top of that. So it's like my challenges are even more, but I built the mindset to where I got this no matter what the scenario is. You know, the health challenges that I've had with all the organ problems, the hospital visits, and then putting my families through all the disparities and stuff I was going through, it was pretty tough and pretty bad. I had to figure out how to keep myself to a point to where they don't have to worry about me anymore, and that was just keep on pushing, never being a victim to my illness, and always show that, yes, we do try to hide how we're going through because we don't want to show weakness. We don't want to show vulnerability, but at the same time, we can't fool and kid ourselves either. You know what I mean? We can't do that. My shirt says built lupus tough. It's like, I feel like I'm built tough. But do I always have to be tough in front of every single person and everybody? Not necessarily. I can show that I am human as well. People looked at me strong for going through everything I've gone through with my illness, but then they saw me even more stronger of being able to be transparent and talk about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that right there, I think, is where it's kind of like putting me up on that platform to where I can talk about this. I can encourage the other guys that it is okay to not be okay. And we still can keep pushing, being the men that we are.
Yeah, there's so much power in our stories and in our voices. Now, you talked about a long time period where you did not speak about it, where you kept it to yourself, you kept it hidden. So what was it like wearing that mask? Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're presenting yourself as one way, but on the inside, you're going through so much. So what was that like?
It was tough. It was tough, especially back in '95. Being the person that I was introduced into management in the workforce at a real young age. So being, a person of color in a management position was tough too, because I had to uphold that I can keep this and let my employers know they made the right decision. But when I got sick, now the challenge is, how do I still maintain this and be sick at the same time? It was tough doing that. And then the more that I tried to learn about my disease, about lupus, was tough as well, because the first 3 years was just completely not telling anybody. When I was told that my disease is a woman's disease, that right there was like, wow, are you really telling me this, doc? But that's what I was told. So for the first 3 years, I didn't really tell anybody why I was getting sick, why this, why that. I decided to join my first support group that I saw local in my area here in California. And when I was excited. When I finally went to it, I walked in the room and there was nothing but older white women in that room. So as a young Black man at the time, I felt out of place. I felt, how can I learn about this disease if nobody in this room looks like me? Am I really going to get something out of this? I decided not to attend. I walked out, matter of fact, and I had to self-learn everything on my own. So with that self-learning, again, was not letting anybody know I was sick, trying to keep up with the energy I didn't have. And again, I think that's just the ego that we have, that's what we have to put on.
Yeah. I mean, men are looked at as providers, the head of the household. You have a lot of weight on your shoulders. So it's like when stuff hits the fan, what do you do? And I think that's why outlets like Male Lupus Warriors and the other one that you have is super important to help other men navigate through that, because it's challenging, like you said. So my stories are kind of similar within the support group thing. So when I went to my first support group, sorry, my dog is in the background, but I was the only young Black woman. And that just made me feel like, okay, I see people that look like me, but no one really looked exactly like me, is the same age as me. So I just felt like I couldn't find anyone that really resonated, that really hit home, that really saw me. But I think the big difference is during the time that I went, around like 2018, 2019, there are so many different Facebook page, you know what I mean, during that time. So there were so many different outlets that I had access to in comparison to you when you were super limited. So what has social media done for you and your advocacy journey?
What social media did for me was built me to, extend out to the people. I mean, I've dealt with countries around the world now with everything that I'm doing. And what social media did for me was, I had a story, but didn't know I had a story till I told my story. When I told my story on social media, to me, I was living to survive. To people that's hearing my story, it's like, wow, tell me more. Tell me what else you went through. How did you get through that? Did that hurt? How was that? it's like I've never had to answer any of those questions before, because it was more of an internal thing with me and my family and my close friends that knew what was going on. But social media, and I didn't even know there were the communities out there. I didn't know all these support groups were out. I didn't know any of that. In 95, there wasn't social media. There wasn't even Google around. So I didn't have any access to that. As I got older and as time went on, things were built up. It was still that ego and stigma in me to not tell people I had a woman's disease. And again, finding out that after advocating and putting my story out there, I was accepted with open arms. Like, we finally have a guy that's helping and speaking out and being a voice.
Now, let me ask you, so 1995, and it is now 2022. Do you still think people have that perception of lupus as being a woman's disease? Do you think that's shifting now that more men are being diagnosed and coming out with it? Like, what do you think the perception of, not statistic wise, but like perception, how people perceive it?
I think that it's still kind of the same, but for both ways. There's still a lot of people out there that's still trying to wrap around, how do we get a woman's disease that only 10% are men? Why is that? But then there's also because of social media, and even though there's not much still out on lupus in regards to commercials, advertisement, national bulletins and stuff like that, people are still seeing and knowing more cases of men that are having it. And then you'll get specials, and with Nick Cannon, who's a celebrity to have it, the celebrity SEAL that had it, with these guys having lupus and putting it out there, the word is coming up more. And then when people do searches on Google or even on social media, then they'll come across pages like mine, the Lupus Dream Team, and they'll see that these are men-based organizations that are speaking from men's perspective. But they have to reach out. They have to be out there in order to see it. We're trying to enter as many homes as we can to put the awareness and education out, but there's still that perception of not wanting to talk about it from a man's point of view, because not only about lupus being a woman's disease, but their own personal feelings as well as being a man putting it out there. And then the fact that it's just hard to kind of bear, how did I get it? There's nobody in my family line that had it prior to me. So all of those questions were with me as well.
Now, let me ask you, so one of the things that you focus on with your platforms is helping men navigate through having this disease. So how do you help them overcome the struggle of, your ego, what your expectations for yourself as a man is and what the world's expectation is? How do you help them to overcome that? What are some things that you talk about and do?
First and foremost is what I mentioned earlier. It is okay to not be okay.
I can't stress that enough.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? It's like we always have to feel, which is good. I mean, as strong men, as kings, we always feel we have to be on top of our game. But you know what? It's okay to not win every single race. The point is that we attempted it and we tried. There's a lot of things that we feel we just have to be the best at. And it's okay to be good at it. It's okay to be great, but you don't have to be the only best at it and accept anything and not accept anything less. So that's one of the biggest things first. We didn't ask for this illness, but yet we can make the best of it. There's no cure for lupus, but why be a victim to it?
Right. We are all survivors, and I think that's something that a lot of people looking at us don't know and don't understand, People who don't have chronic illnesses, they just don't get that. We're surviving every day. Every day is something new. Every day we are struggling, you know what I mean? Every day we have obstacles that we have to overcome. Right. So what is your biggest advice for someone who maybe is just tuning in, who maybe is newly diagnosed? What do you have for any male living with lupus or a chronic illness? What advice do you have for them?
The best advice that I could put out there is education. We have to get educated on what the disease is as best as you can. And not only through Google, not only through web, but talk to people as well that lives with the disease. Even though our illnesses are like a fingerprint illness where no one is the same, you can still get a lot of information from that person because you're not going to know what you're going to experience. Even though it's been over 27 years for me with lupus, I still love it when I talk to somebody newly diagnosed because I want to see where their mindset is. I want to see what did the doctors tell them that maybe something I've never experienced, but then when they hear my story, I don't put it in a way where don't be sad because of it, because look at me now. I've been
Yeah.
through all these failures, and here I am standing strong, advocating for it. And my biggest thing that I would love to express, not only is the education, but mental health. Your body's going to put you through a lot to where you can't let your mind slip and take, the pain that your body is going through. You just have to stay strong with it. Self-care, self-motivation, and self-love is the best thing to do. Follow doctor's instructions. Look into what is best naturally. Unfortunately, with, our diseases, we have to take medications. But yet there's a lot of ways that we can kind of help that by improving our own lifestyles and living better lifestyles, should I say.
So I'm really happy that you mentioned mental health, because that is something that I also advocate for, and just telling my struggles and my journey with it.
Yes.
So what has been your experience with mental health as far as having lupus and the correlation? Like, because obviously when you have a chronic illness, that impacts you, you know what I mean? That affects you drastically. Your life is turned upside down. So how mentally has that impacted you?
It impacted me a lot. It's just, again, what I think helped me is being a young man and of color, and again being in management where my staff was older than me and of different races. So I had to be strong mentally to understand that they're only going to judge me based on everything, that I need to be bigger and above it all. So I need to maintain and put my work mode face on. I need to do everything. That's what pushed me through that. When the illness came, then it was like, okay, this is another test God's putting me through. Okay, I got to figure out how I'm gonna get through this. Listening to the doctors, not knowing about it, I had to educate myself. That was tough because of this disease, but yet I still made life decisions that I thought was best for me, and it worked out in the long run, should I say. It got to a point, Lexi, where when the doctors were telling me, well, you know what, unfortunately, this part is failing, that part is failing. It was like, it wasn't fear. It was like, doc, then what do we got to do? What we got to do to keep going? And I abided by everything. Surgeries. It looks like we're going to have to replace this knee. All right, doc, let's set it up. It was just that confident to where I knew that they could fix me. I knew that I'll be all right. And my training ethic after every episode was like, okay, now that that's done, I need to get better. Let me go off of that daily walk. Let me go out and hit the gym. Let me go out and do this. Let me walk around my house. If I can't physically walk or something, I'm going to read. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to fix my brain until I am physically able. So there's a lot of things that we can do instead of waiting for doctor's instructions on how to live our life.
You know what? Your mindset is so admirable. And I wish I kind of came across this when I was struggling, because when I was diagnosed, my mindset was not nowhere near where yours was. Just super negative. I constantly asked, why me? Why did this happen? Like, I just could not see the positive in it. Like, I just thought MG, myasthenia gravis, was meant to destroy me. And at one point, I was so hopeless that I was going to allow it. So, what do you have to say to people who are in that mentality? Like, what can you say to shift that if you are in a negative mindset? What advice do you have for someone?
That when they see somebody that's a warrior, say somebody with lupus, see somebody like myself, I wasn't born this way. I was made this way. And we are not born the way that we are to be these strong people. We're made through this, through life, through tribulations, and through trials. Unfortunately, yes, sometimes we are set back a little bit in our life, but that's how we make our comebacks even stronger. And if we know that we have the support within ourselves first, very important to have a supporting family, supporting friends around you as well. Even if that is not there, you still have to start with yourself first. Have the confidence that I am strong enough. My life is worth it. Somebody out there is looking to see me survive. And once you're able to accept that, then you can accept that whatever comes along, take it as a challenge that you're going to win it, that you're going to win and beat it. I always say this the way where God has put me, he's given me lupus for a reason. He's put me through these obstacles and he's just testing me. And the guy that I am is like, I can't let him, I can't show that I can't beat these obstacles. I'm going to take it, but it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy. Like I said, I was built to where I am today and made. I wasn't born like this.
Right. It didn't happen overnight, right?
Did not.
So, I've been learning a lot from you from this conversation. I'm just trying to soak everything in. How how you see things and how you handle having lupus is super admirable, and I hope one day to reach a point where you're at in your advocacy journey. So with that being said, what goals do you have for your advocacy journey? What do you want to do? What do you still want to accomplish? What do you see for yourself in the future?
I'm on some really good platforms now as it is, of course, to be on that higher worldwide platform where people are going to know about lupus when they end up talking to me or hearing from me. I've had some accomplishments already, but I'm going to put out there what I have as a big accomplishment coming. I am teaming up with an organization in September called the Seven Summits of Lupus. And I am going to be, according to them, one of the lupus patients to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. So we have a hike coming up.
Wow.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things to where, again, with a chronic illness, people think that things cannot be done anymore, or my life is limited now. It may be limited in a sense, but you're only limited within yourself. Yes, I've had a knee replacement. I've had lung problems. I've had heart problems. All of these things could affect a hike and a walk, but I'm taking it. Lexi, I'm going to take it and I'm going to do it. So I will be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa in September. But even the better part about that as well is a week before that, we'll be going into Africa, going into the hospitals, speaking to rheumatology, and also meeting up with some lupus patients. So we're going to just try to kick and inspire people that, hey, you may have lupus, but we on the other side of the world care about you as an advocate. I am here for you, and so forth and so on. I'm going to show you guys how a lupus warrior is going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
You know what? I feel like I'm trying to contain my jaw. I think that's so amazing. And I think what you're doing is really amazing. I think it's super important. Just the fact that you had this opportunity goes to show that, you are making some headway and you're doing things that are helping other people and changing other people's lives. So I'm really happy for you. And in September, when you are in Africa hiking up that mountain, we'll be here supporting you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then October, the following month, we're having a—
You have more.
Oh, well, it still can go next month, the month after that.
Wow.
In October 1st, we are having a lupus gala. The same organization I collaborate with, Seven Summits of Lupus, myself, Male Lupus Warriors, and the Lupus Dream Team, #BeLupus. These are men-run organization. We're having a lupus gala here in San Diego. We're talking about formal event. We're talking about catered, live music. We're just trying to bring to the community what we don't see much of. And that's a celebration for us as warriors.
Yeah.
And we need to feel that we have a platform that we can feel good, look good, do good, and yet we're being highlighted. So there's all kinds of things that I have planned in regards to my advocacy and a lot of collaborations with a lot of different organizations, because we are strong in numbers. And the only way to put the awareness out there is to consistently talk about it, not just in the month of where our illnesses are celebrated. May is Lupus Awareness Month, but we kick this 24/7, 365, because like I was saying before, our illness doesn't have a day off. So why should we, right?
Right. Yeah. So thank you so much again. I want to make sure that people are able to connect with you and learn more about the gala that you have coming up and be able to be a part of that. And you said, again, that's going to be in San Diego.
Yes, San Diego, California is my hometown.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, will you ever have any events in the future? Do you have any plans to bring them to other states? Like what? Because I'm not in San Diego. So how does Lupus Warriors who aren't in San Diego, how do they be a part of your journey and what you're doing?
Well, we are definitely working with some type of collaboration to do somewhat of a tour state to state. I will be in the city of Atlanta, Georgia at the end of this month to take part in some lupus activities as well, and to visit my dear sister, of course. And then we just have plans throughout as time goes on. So all of that is in the works, is being worked on. My social media, if I could put that stuff out there, because that's the way people can follow me and look for me there. I'm on social media as Male Lupus Warriors on Instagram. And then on Facebook under my own personal name, under Emmitt Henderson III. My email is malelupuswarriors@gmail.com. If anyone has any questions or like to reach out to me for anything, or I do support groups, I do pretty much everything that's involved in the communities. I also have a brand new website website that's getting revamped. That's going to be launched within the next 2 weeks or so. It's going to have everything on it with events, even a Warriors page. And I even like to have you in it as well, Lexi. Tell your part in it as well. So
thank
that's
you.
coming out. That will be under malelupuswarriors.org. So stay tuned for that. And I just see so much coming to where whatever I can do to spark some type of light in somebody's journey, that's what's going to make my day.
You know what, Emmitt, thank you again so much. I think what you're doing and what you have coming up is super well deserved and super important. And I hope more people join you. And I hope you get the recognition and everything that you're looking for to get out of it that you deserve, because you definitely deserve it. You're doing amazing things. And thank you again for allowing me to spotlight and highlight that. And thanks for joining me and talking with me. And I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, Lexi. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for watching, and then tune into the next episode next week. Bye.